Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om 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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayam Udiraye.
Tato Jayam Udiraye.
Welcome back, everyone, to the live broadcast at Govardhan Hill. And we thank everyone who's joined us online and those who have made their way here to be in the live studio audience. Hare Krishna. We're continuing our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. We're up to chapter 8, which is Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest. And last night we stopped at verse 32, so we'll be taking up this morning at 4:8:33 in the matter of Dhruva Maharaj's going to the forest. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
No disputes. Just marking the page number because we have a quarter to keep. One should try to keep himself satisfied in any condition of life, whether distress or happiness, which is offered by the supreme will. A person who endures in this way is able to cross over the darkness of nations very easily. Purport: material existence consists of pious and impious fruitive activities. It is to be understood that we are diminishing the resultant actions of our pious activities. And when we are put into suffering, it is to be understood that we are diminishing the resultant action of our impious activities. Instead of being attached to the circumstantial happiness and distress resulting from pious or impious activities, if we want to get out of the clutches of this nescience, then whatever position we are put in by the will of the Lord, we should accept. Thus, if we simply surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we get out of the clutches of this material existence. 34. Every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets somebody less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate toward him. And when he meets somebody equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. Purport: generally, when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. And when we find someone equal, we become very proud of our activities. These are the causes of all material tribulations. The great sage Narada therefore advised that a devotee should act perfectly. Instead of being envious of a more qualified man, one should be jolly to receive him. Instead of being oppressive to a less qualified man, one should be compassionate toward him just to raise him to the proper standard. And when one meets an equal, instead of being proud of one's own activities before him, one should treat him as a friend. One should also have compassion for the people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. These important functions will make one happy within this material world. 35. Dhruva Maharaj said, "My dear Naradaji, for a person whose heart is disturbed by the material conditions of happiness and distress, whatever you have so kindly explained for attainment of peace of mind is certainly a very good instruction. But as far as I'm concerned, I am covered by ignorance, and this kind of philosophy does not touch my heart." Purport: there are various classes of men. One class is called akarmis, referring to those who have no material desire. Desire must exist, either material or spiritual. Material desire arises when one wants to satisfy one's personal senses. One who is ready to sacrifice anything to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be said to have spiritual desire. Dhruva did not accept the instruction given by the great saint Narada because he thought himself unfit for such instruction, which prohibited all material desires. It is not a fact, however, that those who have material desires are prohibited from worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the essential instruction from the life of Dhruva. He frankly admitted that his heart was full of material desires. First of all, he was very much affected by the cruel words of his stepmother, whereas those who are spiritually advanced do not care about anyone's condemnation or adoration. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that persons who are actually advanced in spiritual life do not care for the dual behavior of this material world. But Dhruva Maharaj frankly admitted that he was not beyond the affliction of material distress and happiness. He was confident that the instruction given by Narada was valuable, yet he could not accept it. The question raised here is whether or not a person afflicted by material desires is fit to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The answer is that everyone is fit to worship him. Even if one has many material desires to fulfill, he should take to Krishna consciousness and worship the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is so merciful that he fulfills everyone's desires. Through this narration, it will become clear, very clear, that no one is barred from worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even if he has many material desires. 36. My dear Lord, I am very impotent for not accepting your instructions, but this is not my fault. It is due to my being born in a Kshatriya family. My stepmother, Suruchi, has pierced my heart with her harsh words. Therefore, your valuable instruction does not stand in my heart. Purport, it is said that the heart or mind is just like an earthen pot. Once broken, it cannot be repaired by any means. Dhruva Maharaj gave this example to Narada Muni. Thank you. He said that his heart, having been pierced by the arrows of his stepmother's harsh words, felt so broken that nothing seemed valuable but his desire to counteract her insult. His stepmother had said that because he was born in the womb of Suniti, a neglected queen of Maharaj Uttanapada, Dhruva Maharaj was not fit to sit either in the throne or on his father's lap. Not fit to sit. In other words, according to his stepmother, he could not be declared king. Dhruva Maharaj's determination was to become king of a planet exalted even beyond that possessed by Lord Brahma, the greatest of all demigods. Dhruva Maharaj indirectly informed the great sage Narada that there are 4 kinds of human spirit: the Brahminical spirit, the Kshatriya spirit, the Vaishya spirit, and the Shudra spirit. The spirit of one caste is not applicable to the members of another. The philosophical spirit enunciated by Narada Muni might have been suitable for a Brahmana spirit, but it was not suitable for a Kshatriya. Dhruva frankly admitted that he was lacking in Brahminical humility and was therefore unable to accept the philosophy of Narada Muni. The statements of Dhruva Maharaj indicate that unless a child is trained according to his tendency, there is no possibility of his developing his particular spirit. It was the duty of the spiritual master or teacher to observe the psychological movement of a particular boy and thus train him in a particular occupational duty. Dhruva Maharaj, having already been trained in the Kshatriya spirit, would not accept the Brahminical philosophy. We have practical experience of this incompatibility of the Brahminical and Kshatriya temperaments in America. The American boys who have simply been trained as Shudras are not fit to fight in battle. Therefore, when they are called to join the military, they refuse because they have no Kshatriya spirit. They do not have Kshatriya spirit. This is a cause of great dissatisfaction in society. That the boys do not have the Kshatriya spirit does not mean that they are trained in Brahminical qualities. they are trained as Shudras, and thus in frustration they are becoming hippies. However, as soon as they enter the Krishna consciousness movement, which is being started in America, they are trained to meet the Brahminical qualifications, even though they have fallen to the lowest conditions of Shudras. In other words, since the Krishna conscious movement is open for everyone, people in general can attain the Brahminical qualifications. This is the greatest need at the present moment. For now there are actually no Brahmanas or Kshatriyas, but only some Vaishyas, and for the most part Shudras. The classification of society into, it's funny to break it in half right in the middle of that word, into Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras is very scientific. In the human social body, the Brahmanas are considered the head, the Kshatriyas are the arms, the Vaishyas are the belly, and the Shudras are the legs. Mukhu Bahurub Shapadebhya. At the present moment, the body has legs and a belly, but there are no arms or head, and therefore society is topsy-turvy. It is necessary to re-establish the Brahminical qualifications in order to raise the fallen human society to the highest standard of spiritual consciousness. (37) O learned Brahmana, I want to occupy a position more exalted than any yet achieved within the three worlds by anyone, even by my fathers and grandfathers. If you will oblige, kindly advise me on an honest path to follow by which I can achieve the goal of my life. Purport. Is everyone okay?
Yes.
When Dhruva Maharaj refused to accept the Brahminical instruction of Narada Muni, naturally the next question would be what sort of instruction he wanted. So, even before Narada Muni asked, Dhruva Maharaj expressed his heartfelt desire. His father, of course, was the emperor of the entire world, and his grandfather, Lord Brahma, was the creator of the universe. Dhruva Maharaj expressed his desire to possess a kingdom better than those of his father and grandfather. He frankly stated that he wanted a kingdom which had no competitor within the three worlds, namely the higher, middle, and lower planetary systems. The greatest personality within this universe is Lord Brahma, and Dhruva Maharaj wanted a position even greater than his. He wanted to take advantage of Narada Muni's presence because he knew very well that if Narada Muni, the greatest devotee of Lord Krishna, could bless him or show him the path, then certainly he would be able to occupy a more exalted position than any person within the three worlds. Thus he wanted help from Naradaji to achieve that position. Dhruva Maharaj wanted a position greater than that of Brahma. This was practically an impossible proposition. But by pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a devotee can achieve even the impossible. One particular point mentioned here is that Dhruva Maharaj wanted to occupy an exalted position not by hook or by crook, but by honest means. This indicates that if Krishna offered him such a position, then he would accept it. That is the nature of a devotee. He may desire material gain, but he accepts it only if Krishna offers it. Dhruva Maharaj was sorry to refuse the instruction of Narada Muni. Therefore he requested him to be merciful to him by showing him a path by which he could fulfill his mind's desire. 38. My dear Lord, you are a worthy son of Lord Brahma, and you travel playing on your musical instrument, the veena, for the welfare of the entire universe. You are like the sun which rotates in the universe for the benefit of all living beings. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj, although a young child, expressed his hope that he might be offered the benediction of a kingdom which would exceed the opulence those of his father and grandfather, which would exceed in opulence those of his father and grandfather. He also expressed his gladness that he had met such an exalted person as Narada, whose only concern was to illuminate the world like the sun, which rotates all over the universe only for the purpose of benefiting the inhabitants of all planets. Narada Muni travels all over the universe for the sole purpose of performing the best welfare activity for the entire universe by teaching everyone how to become a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, Dhruva Maharaj felt fully assured that Narada Muni could fulfill his desire, even though the desire was very extraordinary. The example of the sun is very significant. The sun is so kind that he distributes his sunshine everywhere, without consideration. Dhruva Maharaj requested Narada Muni to be merciful to him. He pointed out that Narada travels all over the universe just for the purpose of doing good to all conditioned souls. He requested that Narada Muni show his mercy by awarding him the benefit of his particular desire. He was strongly determined to fulfill his desire, and it was for that purpose that he had left his home and palace. 39. The sage Maitreya continued, the great personality Narada Muni, upon hearing the words of Dhruva Maharaj, became very compassionate towards him, and in order to show him his causeless mercy, he gave him the following expert advice. Purport. Since the great sage Narada is the foremost spiritual master, naturally his only activity is to bestow the greatest benediction upon whomever he meets. Dhruva Maharaj, however, was a child, and so his demand was also that of a playful child. Still, the great sage became compassionate toward him, and for his welfare he spoke the following verses. Narada Uvacha. The great sage Narada told Dhruva Maharaj, the instruction given by your mother Suniti to follow the path of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is just suitable for you. You should therefore completely absorb yourself in the devotional service of the Lord. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj's demand was to achieve an abode even greater than Lord Brahma's. Within this universe, Lord Brahma is supposed to be in the most exalted position, for he is the chief of the demigods, of all demigods. But Dhruva Maharaj wanted a realm beyond this, beyond his. Therefore, his desire was not to be fulfilled by worshipping any demigod. As described in Bhagavad Gita, the benedictions offered by the demigods are all temporary. Therefore, Narada Muni asked Dhruva Maharaj to follow the path which was recommended by his mother, to worship Kṛṣṇa, Vasudeva. When Kṛṣṇa offers anything, it is beyond the exception of the devotee. When Kṛṣṇa offers anything, it is beyond the expectation of the devotee. Both Suniti and Narada Muni knew that the demand of Dhruva Maharaj was impossible for any demigod to fulfill, and therefore both of them recommended following the process of devotional service to Lord Kṛṣṇa. Narada Muni is referred to here as Bhagavan because he can bless any person just as the Supreme Personality of Godhead can. He was very pleased with Dhruva Maharaj, and he could have at once personally given whatever he wanted. But that is not the duty of a spiritual master. His duty is to engage the disciple in proper devotional service as prescribed in the Shastras. Kṛṣṇa was similarly present before Arjuna, and even though he could have given him all facilities for victory over the opposing party without a fight, he did not do so. He asked him to fight. In the same way, Narada Muni asked Dhruva Maharaj to undergo devotional discipline in order to achieve the desired results. In another place in the lecture, Prabhupada said, he gave Arjuna the instruction to fight. He said he did not ask him to sit down on the chariot and smoke ganja. (41) Any person who desires the fruits of the four principles of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and, at the end, liberation, should engage himself in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because worship of his lotus feet yields the fulfillment of all of these. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, it is In Bhagavad Gita it is said that only with the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can the demigods offer benediction. Therefore, whenever any sacrifice is offered to a demigod, the Supreme Lord in the form of Narayan Shila or Shalagram Shila is put forward to observe the sacrifice. Actually, the demigods cannot give any benediction without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. Narada Muni therefore advised that even for religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation, one should approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offer prayers, and ask for the fulfillment of his desire at the lotus feet of the Lord. That is real intelligence. An intelligent person never goes to demigods to pray for anything. He goes directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of all benediction. As Lord Sri Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, performance of ritualistic ceremonies is not actually religion. The real path of religion is to surrender at the lotus feet of the Lord. For one who has actually surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord, there is no question of any separate endeavor for economic development. A devotee engaged in service to the Lord is not disappointed in the satisfaction of his senses. If he wants to satisfy his senses, Krishna fulfills that desire. As far as liberation is concerned, any devotee fully engaged in the service of the Lord is already liberated. Therefore, there is no separate necessity for his liberation. Narada Muni therefore advised Dhruva Maharaj to take shelter of Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, and engage himself in the way that his mother had advised, for that would help him fulfill his desire. In this verse, Narada Muni has especially stressed the devotional service of the Lord as the only way. In other words, even if one is full of material desires, he can continue his devotional service to the Lord, and all his desires will be fulfilled. 42. My dear boy, therefore I wish all good fortune for you. You should go to the bank of the Jamuna, where there is a virtuous forest named Madhuvan, and there be purified. Just by going there, one draws nearer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always lives there. Purport. Both Narada Muni and Suniti, the mother of Dhruva Maharaj, advised Dhruva Maharaj to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now Narada Muni is especially giving him directions how this worship of the Supreme Person can very quickly fructify. He recommends that Dhruva Maharaj go to the bank of the Jamuna, where there is a forest by the name Madhuvan, and begin his meditation and worship there. Places of pilgrimage yield a special advantage for a devotee in quickly advancing his spiritual life. Lord Krishna lives everywhere, but still it is very easy to approach him in holy places of pilgrimage, because these places are inhabited by great sages. Lord Sri Krishna says that he lives wherever his devotees are chanting the glories of his transcendental activities. There are many places of pilgrimage in India, and especially prominent are Badarayana, Dwarka, Rameshwaram, and Jagannath Puri. Which four? These sacred places are called the four dhams. Dham refers to a place where one can immediately contact the Supreme Lord. To go to Badarayana, one has to pass through Haridwar, on the path to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, there are other holy places of pilgrimage such as Prayag, Allahabad, and Mathura, and the topmost of them is Vrindavan. Unless one is very advanced in spiritual life, it is recommended that he live in such holy places and execute devotional service there. I'll repeat. I think I will, if I can find where it was. I know. There it is. It's all the way to the left. Thank you. Unless one is very advanced in spiritual life, it is recommended that he live in such holy places and execute devotional service there. Havi, comment?
Life within the Dham, life within the Dham is a guarantee of purity and sanity and good association. So, and that is, those are conditions for a pure soul to develop.
Thank you, Prabhu. Navina, you want to comment on the sentence? It says again, unless one is very advanced in spiritual life, it is recommended that he live in such holy places and execute devotional service there. Means that if one is very advanced in spiritual life, doesn't necessarily live in the holy Dham. See what I'm saying? See what you're saying? You want to comment?
Srila Prabhupada left Vrindavan in order to bring everybody to Vrindavan. So the pure devotees are very holy places because they're always absorbed in the mood of Krishna, which is to attract the living entities to the process of bhakti, devotional service. So for pure devotees, it's not necessary to be in a certain specific geographical location. They can be anywhere because their state of mind, their consciousness is always steady. But it is recommended for beginners and practitioners to regularly visit holy places to absorb oneself in that mood, and then eventually when one becomes comfortable outside of comfort zone, you can be comfortable anywhere, or you can be Krishna conscious anywhere.
Thank you very much. We have a comment from the Outside People's Party. There's no mic? You should have a demonstration.
My question is that there's seemingly the opposite instruction when Lord Chaitanya said to Sanatana Goswami, don't stay for a long time in Vrindavan, and Prabhupada comments there that one should not stay unless he is advanced. And here, unless he is advanced, he is advised to stay. How you reconcile these two instructions?
It's all good. How do I reconcile it? Well, just what Navina Prabhu said. I always appreciate this sentence because it's the spirit of our sampradaya. There's a way in which Prabhupada never planned on staying in Vrindavan. He went there, but it was a staging area for him to go out to the rest of the world. Some great devotees just stay in Vrindavan. They say, I'm never leaving, or any other dham. But Prabhupada's intention was different. He went there, he was writing, he was preparing, he was thinking. He went back and forth to Delhi. Most sadhus don't do that. I was like, Delhi? What are you going to Delhi for? He needed paper. He needed contacts. He was working constantly thinking, how am I going to go out? And in the balance, ultimately, we read earlier, Narottam Das Thakur says, going to holy places is a phantasmagoria. And these statements are there emphasizing the fact that, number one, for an advanced devotee, he sees Krishna everywhere. But even more importantly, there's a sense that the best service to Krishna is to go to the places, paschatya deshatarane, go to the furthest away from the Dham and try to instill the mood of the Dham in people. That's a very particular mood of our sampradaya. That comes. I heard Prabhupada this morning, he was talking about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said he enacted this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted to see it all over the world, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta made it happen. He made so many adjustments, and he preached in such a way that everyone was informed and inspired that the most important aspect of their service was to make sure that it got preached to other people as a kind of high sadhana. And at the same time, Araja Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas, to Dhamma Vrindavana, it's non-different from Krishna, and Prabhupada considered it his place of worship. Bombay is my office. Mayapur is my home. Vrindavan's my place of worship. Right? Or is it the other? Yeah. Vrindavan is a home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayapur, place of worship.
And he told us that also when he invited everybody to come. And we'd all come every year when Prabhupada was there, and then he'd say, this is your real home, but you have to go out and serve elsewhere. It's the best I can do. It's early in the morning. Okay, let's keep going. Is that okay?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Unless one is very advanced in spiritual life, it is recommended that he live in such holy places and execute devotional service there. But an advanced devotee like Narada Muni, who is engaged in preaching work, can serve the Supreme Lord anywhere. Sometimes he even goes to the hellish planets. Hellish conditions do not affect Narada Muni because he is engaged in greatly responsible activities in devotional service. According to the statement of Narada Muni, Madhuvan, which is still existing in the Vrindavan area, is in the district of Mathura, is a most sacred place. Many saintly persons still live there and engage in the devotional service of the Lord. There are 12 forests in the area of Vrindavan, and Madhuvan is one of them. Pilgrims from all parts of India assemble together and visit all 12 of these forests. There are 5 forests on the eastern bank of the Jamuna: Bhadravan, Bilvavan, Lauhavan, Bandiravan, and Mahavan. On the western side of the bank there are 7: Madhuvan, Talavan, Kamudavan, Bahulavan, Kamyavan, Kandiravan, and Vrindavan. In those 12 forests there are different ghats, or bathing places. They are listed as follows: 1. Avimukta, 2. Atiruda, 3. Guyatirtha, 4. Prayagtirtha, 5. Kanakala, 6. Tindukatirtha, 7. Suryatirtha, 8. Vataswami, 9. Dhruva Ghat, where there are many nice fruit and flower trees, is famous because Dhruva Maharaj meditated and underwent severe penances and austerities in an elevated spot. 10. Rishi Tirtha, 11. Moksha Tirtha, 12. Bhada Tirtha, 13. Gokarna, 14. Krishna Ganga, 15. Vaikuntha, 16. Asikunda, 17. Chatu Samudrika Kupa, 18. Akrura Tirtha, where Krishna and Balaram were going to, when Krishna and Balaram were going to Mathura in the chariot driven by Akrura, all of them took baths in his ghat. 19. Yagni Viprasthana, 20. Kubja Kupa, 21. Rangasthala, 22. Manchasthala, 23. Manyo Yudhasthana, and 24. Dashashvamedha. If anybody can recite all of those, the forest and the ghats back, we'll give you 1 gulab jamun. 43. Narada Muni instructed, "My dear boy, in the waters of the Jamuna river, which is known as Kalindi, you should take 3 baths daily because the water is very auspicious, sacred, and clear. After bathing, you should perform the necessary regulative principles for Ashtanga Yoga and then sit down on your asana in a calm and quiet position." Purport: it appears from this statement that Dhruva Maharaj had already been instructed how to practice the eightfold yoga system, which is known as Ashtanga Yoga. This system is explained in our Bhagavad Gita as it is in the chapter entitled Sankhya Yoga, pages 319 through 322. It is understood that in Ashtanga Yoga, one practices settling the mind and then concentrating it on the form of Lord Vishnu, as will be described in the following verses. It is clearly stated here that Ashtanga Yoga is not a bodily gymnastic exercise, but a practice to concentrate the mind on the form of Vishnu. Before sitting on his asana, which is also described in Bhagavad Gita, one has to cleanse himself very nicely in clear or sacred water thrice daily. The water of Jamuna is naturally very clear and pure, and thus if anyone bathes there 3 times, undoubtedly he will be very greatly purified externally. Narada Muni therefore instructed Dhruva Maharaj to go to the bank of the Jamuna and thus become externally purified. This is part of the gradual process of practicing mystic yoga. 44. After sitting on your seat, practice the 3 kinds of breathing exercises and thus gradually control the life air, the mind and the senses. Completely free yourself from all material contamination and with great patience begin to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In this verse, the entire yoga system is described in summary, and special stress is given to the breathing exercise for stopping the disturbing mind. The mind by nature is always oscillating, for it is very fickle, but the breathing exercise is meant to control it. This process of controlling the mind might have been very possible in those days, millions of years ago, when Dhruva Maharaj took to it. But at the present moment, the mind has to be fixed directly on the lotus feet of the Lord by the chanting process. By chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one immediately concentrates on the sound vibration and thinks of the lotus feet of the Lord, and very quickly one is elevated to the position of samadhi or trance. If one goes on chanting the holy names of the Lord, which are not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, naturally his mind becomes absorbed in thought of the Lord. It is here recommended to Dhruva Maharaj that he meditate on the Supreme Guru or Supreme Spiritual Master. The Supreme Spiritual Master is? You sure? Supreme Spiritual Master is?
Krishna.
Who is therefore known as Chaitya Guru. This refers to the Supersoul, who is sitting in everyone's heart. He helps, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, from within, and he sends the Spiritual Master, who helps from without. The Spiritual Master is the external manifestation of the Chaitya Guru, or the Spiritual Master sitting in everyone's heart. The process by which we give up our thoughts of material things is called pratyahara, which entails being freed from all material thoughts and engagements. The word abhidhyayet, which is used in this verse, indicates that unless one's mind is fixed, one cannot meditate. The conclusion, therefore, is that meditation means thinking of the Lord within. Whether one comes to that stage by the Ashtanga Yoga system or by the method which is recommended in the Shastras, especially for this present age, to constantly chant the holy name of the Lord, the goal is to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The form of the Lord is described herein. The Lord's face is perpetually very beautiful and pleasing in attitude. To the devotees who see him, he appears never to be displeased, and he is always prepared to award benediction to them. His eyes, his nicely decorated eyebrows, his raised nose, and his broad forehead are all very beautiful. He is more beautiful than all the demigods. Purport. This verse clearly explains how one has to meditate on the form of the Lord. Impersonal meditation is a bogus invention of modern days. In none of the Vedic literatures is impersonal meditation recommended. In Bhagavad Gita, when meditation is recommended, the word matpara, which means pertaining to me, is used. Any Vishnu form pertains to Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna is the original Vishnu form. Sometimes someone tries to meditate upon the impersonal Brahman, which is described in Bhagavad Gita as avyakta, meaning unmanifested and impersonal. But it is remarked by the Lord himself that those who are attached to this impersonal feature of the Lord suffer a very troublesome task, because no one can concentrate on the impersonal feature. One has to concentrate on the form of the Lord, which is described here in connection with Dhruva Maharaja's meditation. As will be apparent from later descriptions, Dhruva Maharaj perfected this kind of meditation and his yoga was successful. 46. Narada Muni continued, the Lord's form is always youthful. Every limb and every part of his body is properly formed, free from defect. Both his eyes and lips are pinkish like the rising sun. He is always prepared to give shelter to the surrendered soul, and anyone who is so fortunate as to look upon him feels all satisfaction. The Lord is always worthy to be the master of the surrendered soul, for he is the ocean of mercy. Purport. Everyone has to surrender to someone superior. This is always the nature of our living condition. At the present moment, we are trying to surrender to someone, either to society or to our nation, family, state, or government. The surrendering process already exists, but it is never perfect because the person or institution unto whom we surrender is imperfect. And our surrender, having so many ulterior motives, is also imperfect. As such, in the material world, no one is worthy to accept anyone's surrender, nor does anyone fully surrender to anyone else, unless he is obliged to do so. But here, the surrendering process is voluntary, and the Lord is worthy to accept the surrender. This surrender by the living entity occurs automatically as soon as he sees the beautiful youthful nature of the Lord. The description given by Narada Muni is not imaginary. The form of the Lord is understood by the Parampara system. Mayavadi philosophers say that we have to imagine the form of the Lord, but here Narada Muni does not say that. Rather, he gives the description of the Lord from authoritative sources. He is himself an authority, and he is able to go to Vaikuntha Loka and see the Lord personally. Therefore, his description of the bodily features of the Lord is not imagination. Sometimes we give instructions to our students about the bodily features of the Lord, and they paint him. Their paintings are not imaginary. The description is given through disciplic succession, just like that given by Narada Muni, who sees the Lord and describes his bodily features. Therefore, such descriptions should be accepted. And if they are painted, that is not imaginative painting. 47. The Lord is further described as having the mark of Srivatsa, or the sitting place of the goddess of fortune, and his bodily hue is deep bluish. The Lord is a person. He wears a garland of flowers, and he is eternally manifest, with 4 hands, which hold, beginning from the lower left hand, a conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus, or club and lotus. 1, 2, 3, 4. Better look at a picture. Here in this verse, the word Purusham is very significant. Which word is significant? Purusha. The Lord is never female. He is always male, Purusha. Therefore, the impersonalist who imagines the Lord's form as that of a woman is mistaken. The Lord appears in female form if necessary, but his perpetual form is Purusha because he is originally male. The feminine feature of the Lord is displayed by goddesses of fortune, Lakshmi, Radharani, Sita, etc. All these goddesses of fortune are servitors of the Lord. They are not the supreme, as falsely imagined by the impersonalists. Lord Krishna, in his Narayan feature, is always 4-handed. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when Arjuna wanted to see his universal form, he showed this feature of 4-handed Narayan. Some devotees are of the opinion that Krishna is an incarnation of Narayan, but the Bhagavat school says that Narayan is a manifestation of Krishna. The entire body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, is decorated. He wears a valuable jeweled helmet, necklaces and bracelets. His neck is adorned with the Kaustubha jewel, and he is dressed in yellow silk garments. The Lord is decorated with small golden bells around his waist, and his lotus feet are decorated with golden ankle bells. All his bodily features are very attractive and pleasing to the eyes. He is always peaceful, calm and quiet, and very pleasing to the eyes and the mind. Real yogis meditate upon the transcendental form of the Lord as he stands on the whorl of the lotus of their hearts, the jewel-like nails of his lotus feet glittering. The Lord is always smiling, and the devotee should constantly see the Lord in this form, as he looks very mercifully toward the devotee. In this way, the meditator should look toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of all benediction. Purport: the word niyatena is very significant in this connection, for it indicates that one should execute the meditation practice as stated above. One should not manufacture a way of meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but should follow the authorized shastras and personalities. By this prescribed method, one can practice concentration upon the Lord until he is so fixed that he remains in trance, thinking always of the form of the Lord. The word used here is ekabhutena, which means with great attention and concentration. If one concentrates on the descriptions of the bodily features of the Lord, he will never fall down. 52. One who meditates in this way, concentrating his mind upon the always auspicious form of the Lord, very soon is freed from all material contamination. And he does not come down from meditation upon the Lord. Purport: this fixed meditation is called samadhi, or trance. A person constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord cannot be deviated from meditating on the form of the Lord as described herein. The Archana Marga, or the devotional path prescribed in the Pancharatra system of devotional service for worshiping the deity in the temple, makes the devotee think constantly of the Lord. That is samadhi, or trance. One who practices in this way cannot deviate from the service of the Lord, and that makes him perfect in the mission of human life. Now we'll take a few reflections or questions. Yes, Mukaravinda.
One thing I was thinking when Prabhupada was mentioning the text, and we always say that we should see the context. So here, context was that Narad Muni is giving instruction to Dhruva Maharaj to go to Madhuvan and practice. So he is kind of beginning his spiritual life. So that's why he's emphasizing that, okay, you should go. But in the same time, Prabhupada is also telling for the advanced devotees, not necessary to stay in the dham. They can go and preach, like how we are all discussing. So I think the context in which what Prabhupada is emphasizing what thing I think is important. And this he wanted to encourage. The first part was to encourage Dhruva Maharaj, because he was
Yeah, context is everything. You could say good or bye. So goodbye. Gopal Jampu.
Appreciated the point in 4.836. Srila Prabhupada was mentioning the 4 kinds of human spirit. So I like the way Prabhupada phrased it there, and then so I looked up the definition of the word spirit. So one that was fitting is a temper or disposition of mind, inclination, impulse or tendency of a specific kind, a special attitude or frame of mind. So I was just appreciating that put it that way, like a Brahminical spirit, a Kshatriya spirit. So that's like the nature of a person, the makeup of a person.
And would you use that line in selling a stack of books?
Yeah.
And this one talks about the 4 kinds of human spirit and how to cultivate each.
Yeah.
Nice point. Dhirodhata.
Hare Krishna. Just on the back of Gopal Jampu Prabhu's point, it's very useful to know these for preaching, because we're dealing with the material modes of nature every day when we're speaking with a person. And so when you can see somebody's more Brahminical or in the mode of goodness, somebody who's more, in the mode of passion for Kshatriyas, or in the mixed mode of goodness in the mixed mode of passion and ignorance for Vaishyas and ignorance for Shudras, then you can preach to them accordingly. But what was also quite interesting was that Narada Muni, he started with the topmost thing. He went straight for the highest thing, and he realized somebody couldn't do it. He couldn't do it, so then he brought it down. And so similarly, as preachers, we should also have that sensitivity to be able to help others.
Nice point. Yes, Prabhu. Charanaravinda and then Vaishnavi.
Hare Krishna. I was just reflecting on how Dhruva is approaching Krishna for a benediction through Narada Muni, and it requires a certain qualification to receive a benediction from Krishna. Krishna has to see that the devotee won't misuse it. He can handle the benediction, and I was reflecting on that pastime with Siddhartha Vipra, how his wife encouraged him to go see Krishna in Dwarka to get some material facility for the ashram. And when he returned, he received like a kingdom greater than Indra, and his wife also was transformed into a very beautiful woman. So Krishna could see that he was qualified to receive that benediction in terms that he could continue in his devotional service.
Yeah. It's also mentioned at the end of the pastime that Sudama was attached to renunciation. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says Krishna gave him all that to help him become detached from renunciation. It's kind of interesting.
Hare Krishna.
I know.
I was just remembering, it says Dhruva Maharaj had Kshatriya blood. And I was remembering when we listened to you in the spark, you were saying that we should develop Chit Rakta for our Chit Sharira, the spiritual blood for our spiritual body, and we should learn to tolerate. And just on the verse 4:8:35, it says, those who are spiritually advanced do not care about anyone's condemnation or adoration. I was remembering the pastime of Jada Bharat, when the king Rahugana was insulting him. He did feel a little bit angry, but he immediately checked himself. So that humanness of great personalities is not, it's not that they're not human, but they internalize it. And then, like my spiritual master, B. Kṛṣṇa Goswami, he says we should always, when we want to be empathic, we should first see, why am I feeling this? And because I have a need for such and such, and then we are able to be empathic with others.
Yeah, nice points. Yes? Chakadola.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I was thinking how Krishna made the impossible possible. Like Dhruva Maharaj was saying that now I don't need the throne of my father. I need the planet or the position better than even my great grandfather Brahmaji. And Krishna made a Dhruv Lok for Dhruva Maharaj, where Krishna personally stays as a Shirodakshay Vishnu in the Shvetadvip. And even the Brahmaji's planet Satyalok, it gets destroyed when the annihilation comes, but Dhruva Lok remains as it is. So,
yeah, I was thinking that that's the exhilaration of being in the Sankirtan movement. We're going directly to Lord Chaitanya, and if we ask for something that's impossible and assume that we can get it, because ask for something impossible in service. For instance, if we set goals incrementally and they seem beyond what anybody's ever done before, or they seem to be impossible, then that's what we should be trying for. Otherwise, we get into niyamagraha, get on a plateau, and the whole movement becomes bureaucratic, just maintaining some idea of rules and regulations. But if we have a mission-based goal that we're all working towards, that only Krishna could and power that only Krishna could fulfill. Then we're on a path of exhilaration. Then we get to see Krishna's hand in the whole thing. What do you think of that? I'm just getting warmed up for our meeting today in Vrindavan. Yeah.
Suchi told.
It's a sad day when the person running the thing can't. Okay, go ahead.
Suchi told Dhruva Maharaj that if you please Krishna, then you will be able to take birth from my womb, and then you will be able to sit on the throne. But I feel that she underestimated the power of Lord Krishna. Dhruva Maharaj, when he pleased Krishna, he didn't have to take birth again and suffer in the womb for 9 months. And even then, even before going into the womb of Shruti, he attained the better planet than his father.
Yeah. It reminded me too that I put together a series of iconic figures, including Dhruva Maharaj, and the talk was about attitudes that have been taken by great devotees in order to advance in devotional service. So related to Dhruva Maharaj, my mother used to say, said, never underestimate the power of all show them. And so Dhruva Maharaj had that attitude. It's like, okay, you're going to mess with me? You want to see something? Watch this. I'm going straight to the forest. I'm going to take right to the top, and then watch out. You know, that mood he had. And because it was directed towards Krishna, the intensity of it, everything came.
Maharaj, that the goal, exhilaration goals and things that you were mentioning yesterday night when His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj was there and you were both were discussing that how that a mile in a 4 minute was something that was not achievable before, but once some person has achieved that, then so many people started doing a mile in a 4 minutes, and that's what is the mindset.
It's psychological. So many times, as soon as you bring up a goal, people have a tendency, including myself, to say, here's why we can't do it. They'll start to give a long, it just like naturally comes out. This is not going to work, and I'll tell you why. Here's all the reasons. But if we can suspend that based on the fact that we're taking it to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it becomes a transcendental mission that anything can happen. And that point I put in the book about Roger Bannister, because it always inspired me that there were medical papers that said if anybody in track and field were to run a mile in under 4 minutes, they would definitely die. The heart can't sustain that kind of pumping, the intensity of it. And so Roger Bannister practiced for it, and then he beat the 4 minute mile. Hadn't been done ever in recorded history. But the most amazing thing is after it happened, then it started happening regularly. Everybody did it. And now, even in high school, people break the 4 minute mile. It's not that big a deal. Radha Kripa.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I'm appreciating the Dhruva Maharaj's mother. She was, in a normal scenario, she could fight with her husband or to her, other, I don't know what is called, other wife, right, of her husband. But she remained composed, even being neglected. She just gave the right instruction as a guru. So it's very inspiring that, as a mother, she is the well-wisher of the son, what is best for him, and she could guide him into that direction rather than complaining that, I'm not being well treated, how you will be well treated. So, stick with it. So
it's a really good point. Yes. I think you got to turn it on. and red means dead.
Yeah, it works now, I guess. In the verse 35, Dhruva Maharaj, he answers to Narada, and he's very honest with Narada. He says, you told me to do something which is good for me, and I appreciate and I really value that. It's not, but still, so as he says, as far as I'm concerned, I'm covered by ignorance, and this kind of philosophy does not touch my heart. So I really appreciate, it's really touching my heart that he's so honest with Guru. He potentially could say, well, yes, and do his things, but he reveals his heart fully to his Guru, and he said, I can't, so I have the desire, so I haven't, I cannot ignore that. And I just was thinking that quite often it happens that we are not honest with Guru, and we have some material desires, and Guru give us instruction, and we kind of doing it because we supposed to do that, and then we do it, and some strange things happening in the heart, and we found ourselves kind of being pretentious person at some point, and thinking, oh my God, I'm doing something which is supposed to be devotional service, but I'm just following my material desire. And I was just thinking, so probably it's very important to be honest and separate those things, and not to, when we have material desire, not to put a tag of devotional service on that, and kind of, okay, so that works. So I kind of found myself in that several times in life, and just was so impressed looking at the story again. So how Dhruva Maharaj is very honest with his Guru, and following that path under the guidance of Guru, admitting his material desires. At the end of the story, still Lord, he reveals the truth in his heart, and he realized deeply that, oh my God, yes, that's a trash. I shouldn't even think about that. So I would just meditating on that. Thank you so much for.
Thank you. Sure. You can pass it this way. Okay, a few more verses we have time for. Where did I end? So should I read 53? Thank you. There's important points you made. We'll also process them as we're going forward. O son of the king, now I shall speak unto you the mantra which is chanted with this meditation process. One who carefully chants this mantra for 7 nights can see the perfect human beings flying in the sky. Purport: within this universe there is a planet called Siddhaloka. The inhabitants of Siddhaloka are by nature perfect in the yoga achievements, which are of 8 varieties. One can become smaller than the smallest, lighter than the lightest, or bigger than the biggest. One can immediately get whatever he likes. One can even create a planet, etc. These are some of the yogic perfections. By the virtue of lagima siddhi, or purificatory process to become lighter than the lightest, the inhabitants of Siddhaloka can fly in the sky without airplanes or airships. It is hinted herein by Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj that by meditating upon the transcendental form of the Lord and at the same time chanting the mantra, one becomes so perfect within 7 days that he can see the human beings who fly in the sky. Narada Muni used the word japaha, which indicates that the mantra to be chanted is very confidential. One may ask, if it is confidential, why is it mentioned in the writing of Srimad Bhagavatam? It is confidential in this sense. One may receive a published mantra anywhere, but unless it is accepted through the chain of disciplic succession, the mantra does not act. It is said by authoritative sources that any mantra chanted without having been received from the disciplic succession has no efficacy. Another point established in this verse is that meditation should be carried on with the chanting of a mantra. Chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is the easiest process of meditation in this age. As soon as one chants the Hare Krishna mantra, he sees the forms of Krishna, Rama, and their energies, and that is the perfect stage of trance. One should not artificially try to see the form of the Lord while chanting Hare Krishna, but when the chanting is performed defenselessly, the Lord will automatically reveal himself to the view of the chanter. The chanter, therefore, has to concentrate on hearing the vibration, and without extra endeavor on his part, the Lord will automatically appear. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the 12-syllable mantra for worshipping Lord Krishna. One should install the physical forms of the Lord, and with the chanting of the mantra, one should offer flowers and fruits and other varieties of foodstuffs exactly according to the rules and regulations prescribed by authorities. But this should be done in consideration of place, time, and attendant conveniences and inconveniences. Purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is known as the Dwadashakshara mantra. This mantra is chanted by Vaishnava devotees, and it begins with pranava or omkar. There is an injunction that those who are not brahmanas cannot pronounce the pranava mantra. But Dhruva Maharaj was born a Kshatriya. He at once admitted before Narada Muni that as a Kshatriya he was unable to accept his instruction of renunciation and mental equilibrium, which are the concern of a Brahmana. Still, although not a Brahmana but a Kshatriya, Dhruva was allowed on the authority of Narada to pronounce the pranava omkar. This is very significant, especially in India. The caste Brahmanas object greatly when persons from other castes who are not born in Brahmin families recite this pranava mantra. But here is tacit proof that if a person accepts the Vaishnava mantra or Vaishnava way of worshipping the deity, he is allowed to chant the pranava mantra. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord personally accepts that anyone, even one of a low species, can be elevated to the highest position and go back home, back to Godhead, simply if he worships properly. The prescribed rules, as stated here by Narada Muni, are that one should accept the mantra through a bona fide spiritual master and hear the mantra in his right ear. Not only should one chant or murmur the mantra, but in front of him he must have the deity or physical form of the Lord. Of course, when the Lord appears, it is no longer a physical form. For example, when an iron rod is made red hot in a fire, it is no longer iron, it is fire. Similarly, when we make a form of the Lord, whether of wood or stone or metal or jewel or paint, or even a form within the mind, it is a bona fide spiritual transcendental form of the Lord. One must not only receive the mantra from the bona fide spiritual master like Narada Muni or his representative in the disciplic session, but one must chant the mantra. And not only must one chant, but he should also offer whatever foodstuff is available in his part of the world, according to time and circumstance. The method of worship, chanting the mantra and preparing the forms of the Lord, is not stereotyped, nor is it exactly the same everywhere. It is specifically mentioned in this verse that one should take consideration of the time, place, and available conveniences. Our Krishna consciousness movement is going on throughout the entire world, and we also install deities in different centers. Sometimes our Indian friends, puffed up with concocted notions, criticize, this has not been done, that has not been done. But they forget this instruction of Narada Muni to one of the greatest Vaishnavas, Dhruva Maharaj. One has to consider the particular time, country, and conveniences. What is convenient in India may not be convenient in the Western countries. Those who are not actually in a line of acharyas, or who personally have no knowledge how to act in the role of acharya, unnecessarily criticize the activities of the ISKCON movement in countries outside of India. The fact is that such critics cannot do anything personally to spread Krishna consciousness. If someone does go preach, taking all risks and allowing all considerations for time and place, it might be that there are changes in the manner of worship, but that is not at all faulty according to the Shastra. Srimad Viraragavacharya, an acharya in the disciplic succession of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, has remarked in his commentary that chandalas, or conditioned souls, who are born in lower than Shudra families can also be initiated according to circumstances. The formalities may be slightly changed here and there to make them Vaishnavas. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that his name should be heard in every nook and corner of the world. How is this possible unless one preaches everywhere? The cult of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Bhagavat Dharma, and he especially recommends Krishna Katha, or the cult of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. He recommends that every Indian, considering this task as paropakar, or welfare activity, take the Lord's message to other residents of the world. Other residents of the world does not refer only to those who are exactly like the Indian Brahmins or Kshatriyas, or like the caste Brahmanas who claim to be Brahmanas because they were born in the families of Brahmanas. The principle that only Indians and Hindus should be brought into the Vaishnava cult is a mistaken idea. There should be propaganda to bring everyone to the Vaishnava cult. The Krishna conscious movement is meant for this purpose. There is no bar to propagating the Krishna consciousness movement, even among people who are born in Chandala, Mlecha, or Yavana families. Even in India, this point has been enunciated by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his book Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is Smriti, and is the authorized Vedic guide for Vaishnavas in their daily behavior. Sanatana Goswami says that as bell metal can be turned to gold when mixed with mercury in a chemical process, so by the bona fide diksha or initiation method, anyone can become a Vaishnava. One should take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master, coming in the disciplic succession, who is authorized by his predecessor spiritual master. This is called Diksha Vidhan. Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Vyapashrit. By this process, the entire world can be converted to Krishna consciousness. There you have it. That's what I'm talking about. 55. One should worship the Lord by offering pure water, pure flower garlands, fruits, flowers, and vegetables, which are available in the forest, or by collecting newly grown grasses, small buds of flowers, or even the skins of trees, and if possible by offering tulsi leaves, which are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And on that, I'd like to thank Anna Payini Radha for bringing over a variety of many buds, flowers, tulsi leaves from her local farm project. Thank you. It is specifically mentioned herein that tulsi leaves are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotees should take particular care to have tulsi leaves in every temple and center of worship. In the Western countries, while engaged in propagating the Krishna conscious movement, we were brought great happiness because we could not find great unhappiness because we could not find tulsi leaves. We are very much obliged, therefore, to our disciple Srimati Govinda Dasi, because she has taken much care to grow tulsi plants from seeds, and she has been successful by the grace of Krishna. Now tulsi plants are growing in almost every center in our movement. Tulsi leaves are very important in the method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, the word salila, salilai, means by the water. Of course, Dhruva Maharaj was worshipping on the bank of the Jamuna. The Jamuna and the Ganges are sacred, and sometimes devotees in India insist that the deity must be worshipped with water of the Ganges or Jamuna. But here we understand Deshakala to mean according to time and country. In the Western countries, there is no river Jamuna or Ganges. Water from such sacred rivers is not available. Does this mean that the Archa worship should be stopped for that reason? No. Shalilai refers to any water, whatever is available, but it must be very clear and collected purely. That water can be used. The other paraphernalia, such as flower garlands, fruits, and vegetables, should be collected according to the country and according to their availability. Tulsi leaves are very important for satisfying the Lord, so as far as possible an arrangement should be made for growing tulsi leaves. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to worship the Lord with the fruits and flowers available in the forest. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna frankly says that he accepts vegetables, fruits, flowers, etc. One should not offer Lord Vasudeva anything other than what is prescribed herein by the great authority Narada Muni. One cannot offer to the deity according to one's whims, but since these fruits and vegetables are available anywhere in the universe, we should observe this small point very attentively. In talking about deity worship, Prabhupada says in several places that real opulence in worshiping the deity is the quality of the flowers. Just saying. It is possible to worship a form of the Lord made of physical elements such as earth, water, pulp, wood, and metal. In the forest, one can make a form with no more than earth and water and worship him according to the above principles. A devotee who has full control over his self should be very sober and peaceful and must be satisfied simply with eating whatever fruits and vegetables are available in the forest. And that's what we're doing today for breakfast. So we'll stop a little early so you can forage. Purport: it is essential for a devotee to worship the form of the Lord and not only to meditate upon the form of the Lord within his mind with the chanting of the mantra given by the spiritual master. The worship of the form must be present. The impersonalist takes unnecessary trouble to meditate upon or worship something impersonal, but this is very troublesome and the path is very precarious. We are not advised to follow the impersonalist way of meditating or worshiping the Lord. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to worship a form made of earth and water, because in the jungle, if it is not possible to have a form made of metal, wood, or stone, the best process is to take earth mixed with water and make a form of the Lord and worship him. The devotee should not be anxious about cooking food. Whatever is available in the forest or in the city among the fruit and vegetable groups should be offered to the deity. And the devotee should be satisfied eating that. He should not be anxious to have very palatable dishes. Of course, wherever it is possible, one should offer the deities the best foodstuffs prepared within the category of fruits and vegetables, cooked or uncooked. The important factor is that the devotee should be regulated, mitabuk. That is one of the good qualifications of a devotee. He should not hanker to satisfy the tongue with a particular kind of foodstuff. He should be satisfied to eat whatever prasadam is available by the grace of the Lord. And now we'll just have 1 or 2 more minutes. Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So when you were mentioning about Roger Bannister and how he ran a mile under 4 minutes, I was also reminded of how the sound barrier was broken. So Captain Chuck Yeager, so initially it was thought that the sound barrier was unbreakable. There was a lot of vibrations when the craft goes the speed of sound. But then when he did it once, then it was regularly done, going more than the speed of sound.
Yeah, we got to do that. An online question. Extra points for that.
It's from Chitralekha Sakhi Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
In 4.4853, Srila Prabhupada writes that chanter has to concentrate on hearing the vibration, and without extra endeavor on his part, the Lord will automatically appear. I once heard in a lecture that Ananda Prabhu, a god brother of Srila Prabhupada, who was cooking for devotees in ISKCON Vrindavan in the 70s, said that we should chant with our mind as well as verbally. I find this helped me to concentrate. Is it okay to do this, as it is not just hearing as emphasized here?
Sure. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what that means, to chant with your mind. But yes, you know? In the mind. To chant in the mind while you're chanting with your lips? only chant in your mind? To do both at the same time? You should put your mind in the mantra and the mantra in your mind and be like that. So yeah, it's a good idea. In fact, Satchidananda Swami was saying that some acharyas have said you can also, like Gopal Champu does, he carries around a little image, a graven image of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and he looks at that when he chants. You can also do that within your mind. Last point.
Like we were discussing about deity worship, and we have like two head pujaris from New Golok Vrindavan, New Golok Dham in Australia, Charana Ravind Prabhu and Vaishnavi Mataji. They are the head pujaris in the New Golok community in the Australia.
Wow.
I'm so sorry, New Govardhan.
New Govardhan. Thank you very much for coming to Govardhan. Okay, last point.
I was just appreciating our yesterday in the evening session, whatever discussion we had in the morning session, you summarized all that, wrote it down, so that was very nice. And that kept me thinking that what we can do from our part so that we can imbibe more during these readings and can make more out of whatever we are investing here.
Yeah, that's very selfish reasons. I'm trying to answer somebody's question. They asked me a very thoughtful question. I'm trying to give a very thoughtful answer. So I often charted out what exactly they're asking. And in the process, we just happened to come to that section. So it opened up a lot of the answers for me. So that's why I was especially attentive. So my point is that if you're processing something and you're also hearing, the mind is more absorbing or is more absorbent. What's the right word? It's more absorbed. Huh? Absorbent, I like better. So, yeah. So I was like, just last point, and that is that any good hearing and chanting session leaves us with more questions than answers. Because then we're eager to hear the next time. And even in reading continuously in a canto, oftentimes the questions that come up early on are answered as we continue, or they're answered in discussion. And I found also that session last night to be especially helpful because brainstorming is really powerful amongst devotees. There's a synergy that occurs in discussions, and Krishna manifests out of that because of the goodwill of the devotees. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmana Shringadev, if you so desire, please empower our intelligence so that we can consider ways in which to expand our service to your lotus feet. Please let us lose our list of excuses why things can't be done so that we can think like Dhruva Maharaj and shoot for the top. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer or even knows what I was talking about in part or in whole. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna!
Gaur Premanande. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Vanchakopadrishcha kripasindavevacha patitanam pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.